we hear things that we find so fundamentally hard to believe. I mean, I'm in that category. People say things like, oh, that could never happen. But having been a close observer now for quite a number of years of our current president, you have to suspend your disbelief. And you have to do two things simultaneously. You have to both listen to what he says, because he often telegraphs what he's...
Hillary Clinton is one of the most disgusting human beings on the planet.
Very much so.
Always has been, always will be, and will be inserting clips on her response to Benghazi several times throughout the interview. I want to show who she is.
When Hillary Clinton agreed to appear on live TV, she expected the usual treatment: respectful questions, a chance to promote her talking points, and an opportunity to frame herself as the seasoned veteran of politics who has seen it all. But what she didn't expect, what she couldn't prepare for, was Tyrus. From the moment the segment began, Tyrus wasn't playing the game. He didn't offer polite introductions or softball questions. He came in direct, unapologetic, and relentless. And instead of treating Clinton as untouchable, he treated her like what she is: a political figure with a long, controversial history that demands answers. And right away, he went straight for the jugular. He pulled no punches as he brought up her past decisions, the scandals that have followed her for decades, the controversies she would rather leave buried. From Benghazi to private emails, from political maneuvering to questions about influence, Tyrus laid it all out on the table.
She's just evil. There's nothing like her.
Why would she even tweet that? Like, don't you have
I think she just sits around in her evil lair. Whenever she runs out of Eye of Newt and Small Children to Boil, she talks. You kind of get why Bill did what he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't, like, it's kind of like, again, I don't condone, cheating, but no, that's your morning.
Yeah.
You gotta kiss that before you go to bed at night, and then you gotta sleep with one eye open.
Yeah.
Because your buddy Epstein didn't off himself, and she has all this extra footage cut up in the closet. Like,
Blunt, raw, and without hesitation. The look on Hillary's face said it all. She was stunned. The practiced smile faltered, her posture stiffened, and for a split second, the mask slipped. She wasn't in control. She wasn't dictating the pace. She was being cornered, live, with millions watching. And then came the explosion. As Tyrus pressed harder, as he demanded direct answers instead of rehearsed lines, Hillary lashed out. The calm tone gave way to defensiveness. The measured replies turned into sharp retorts. And suddenly, the woman who had spent decades controlling narratives looked rattled, exposed, and furious. The audience could feel it. This wasn't the Hillary Clinton who delivered polished speeches behind podiums. This was Hillary Clinton under fire, without her usual army of handlers and strategists to protect her. And Tyrus? He didn't flinch. He didn't back down. He leaned in harder, fueling the confrontation with each pointed question, each fact she couldn't easily dismiss. It was raw. It was uncomfortable, and it was exactly what viewers had been waiting for. Someone finally holding her to account without fear of backlash. And for Hillary Clinton, it was the kind of moment that doesn't just sting in the moment. It follows you, replayed over and over, burned into public memory.
Wanted us to believe it was a big naughty redhead that was going around, was going to ruin the world and do all kinds of bad things to us. Turns out the catfish was... Hey, we don't boo here, but for this one time, you may boo. She was the most unlikable candidate in the history of presidents, and that's saying a lot.
But Biden says the same thing.
He's number two. When Biden says something, does anyone be like, oh?
Right.
No, they used to go, oh.
Once the first cracks appeared, things spiraled quickly. Hillary Clinton, normally masterful at controlling the narrative, couldn't stop the bleeding. Tyrus wasn't asking friendly, pre-approved questions. He was tearing through decades of political armor with blunt force. He brought up Benghazi, a wound she spent years trying to downplay, and asked why the families of fallen Americans still demand answers that never came. He pivoted to the infamous private email scandal, pointing out how ordinary citizens would have faced prison for less, while she walked away untouched. He even dug into her influence in the Democratic Party, raising questions about how much power she still wielded from the shadows despite officially being out of office. Each question landed like a body blow, and the cameras caught everything: the clenched jaw, the narrowed eyes, the deepening frustration on her face. And then came the explosion. Hillary snapped back, accusing Tyrus of parroting conspiracy theories, of being unfair, of twisting her record. But instead of looking strong, it made her look defensive, rattled, and visibly angry. That's when Tyrus dropped the line that instantly went viral. The American people aren't afraid of the truth, but politicians like you are terrified of it. The studio erupted, and online, that clip spread like wildfire. The fallout was immediate. Social media lit up with hashtags like hashtag Hillary Meltdown and hashtag Tyrus Truthbomb, and millions replayed the clip over and over, some cheering, others stunned at how quickly the confrontation escalated. What should have been another safe appearance turned into a moment that exposed just how vulnerable Hillary still is when pressed on her past. And here's the reality. This wasn't just another tense interview. This was a rare moment when the facade cracked, when one of the most powerful and practiced politicians of the modern era lost control of the stage. For Hillary, it was a reminder that her past isn't going away. For Tyrus, it was validation, proof that asking real questions without fear can cut through even the thickest political armor. In politics, image is everything. And on this night, Hillary's image took one of its sharpest blows in years. She wasn't the unshakable figure her supporters wanted to see. She was human, she was angry, and she was cornered. And the millions watching, they saw it all unfold live. And that's why this moment matters. Not because of the sound bites, not because of the memes, but because it showed something raw, that even the most powerful can be exposed when the truth finally catches up with them.
Apology tour for lying to the American people and ruining 2 years of Trump's presidency and affecting elections with Russiagate, impeachment, and fake dossiers. Oh yeah, let's not forget the P-tape. Turns out it was the Democrats and the lefty media peeing down our backs and telling it was rain.
You know, Tyrus, and this goes back to 2016, people were reluctant to talk to pollsters and say, I like Donald Trump. And now, fast forward 8 years later, essentially they're saying, if you like him, you're in a cult. Do you really want to be in a cult?
If the cult that Hillary doesn't like, yeah, sign me in. What do I need? Is it a red hat? I'll get one.
The moment Hillary Clinton's composure cracked on live TV, it wasn't just a minor slip. It became the spark for a firestorm that spread far beyond the studio. What happened next showed just how fragile the political facade can be when tested under real, unfiltered pressure. Within hours, the clips were everywhere. TikTok flooded with edits of Tyrus blunt takedowns. Twitter, or X as it's now called, was ablaze with debates. Supporters of Clinton tried desperately to spin the meltdown as passion, while critics called it proof she had something to hide. But regardless of which side you were on, the narrative was clear. Hillary had been rattled, and Tyrus had been the one to do it. But here's where it gets even deeper. The issues Tyrus raised weren't just old talking points. They struck at the heart of why Hillary has remained such a polarizing figure in American politics. From Benghazi to the email scandal, from questions of political influence to her ties with powerful donors, the scars of her past campaigns never healed. Instead, they lingered, waiting for the right moment to resurface. And Tyrus gave them that moment. What's shocking is how quickly the mainstream network scrambled. Some cut away from the meltdown in real time. Others try to soften the blow in their coverage afterward. Yet independent media and online commentators refused to let it die. They replayed the exchange, dissected every word, and contrasted it with years of carefully crafted Clinton interviews where nothing controversial ever slipped through. This time, there was no PR shield strong enough to contain it. And it wasn't just about Hillary herself. It was about the bigger picture. For years, the political elite have operated in carefully managed spaces, where the questions are scripted, the answers rehearsed, and the outcome predetermined. But this clash on live TV shattered that illusion. It showed viewers that when real, unfiltered accountability finally happens, even the most seasoned politicians can falter. Behind the scenes, reports began surfacing that Clinton's team was furious. Advisors allegedly called the segment an ambush, while others worried it had reignited controversies the campaign world has spent years trying to bury. But to millions of Americans watching, it didn't look like an ambush. It looked like a rare dose of honesty cutting through the fog of spin. And here's the crucial takeaway. This wasn't just about Hillary Clinton. It was about trust. Trust in the media, trust in politics, trust in the people who have shaped the country for decades. When Tyrus asked those questions, he wasn't just speaking for himself. He was channeling the frustrations of countless Americans who feel like the truth is always buried under excuses. In the end, Hillary's explosion did more damage than the questions themselves. By losing her composure, she confirmed the suspicion that there's more beneath the surface. Things she doesn't want the public to hear, conversations she doesn't want to have. And once that perception sets in, it's almost impossible to reverse. So what does this moment really mean? It means the age of protected political royalty is crumbling. It means politicians, no matter how powerful, can no longer count on media allies to shield them when tough questions are asked. And it means audiences are hungrier than ever for authenticity, for real confrontation, for truth over talking points. For Hillary, this was a nightmare. For Tyrus, it was a defining moment. And for everyone watching, it was proof that when the spotlight shines bright enough, the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, will always find a way out. This wasn't just a meltdown. It was a political earthquake, and the aftershocks are still being felt.
Dealing with the Hillary Clinton emails from a couple years ago saying how she should be in jail and all this other stuff. And it's just point to point to point to point exactly what just happened, proving once and for all it had absolutely nothing to do with Hillary Clinton's emails. It had everything to do with attacking Hillary Clinton, and these people are just so desperate for it that that's what they went for. And of course, the hypocrisy is just out on stage for everybody to see.
When the losing side, or someone, she's just a very unlikable person and will say anything to get this attention. But here's the thing, it's changed. America has changed. We no longer listen to that stuff. Now when they say it, we go, that's why I didn't vote for you.
Woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian.
Her logic makes no sense, but why would she say it? You know, I mean, we can't just keep saying TDS. It's something else. It is. I think these are I think they're ego damaged people.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't make any sense.
Look, she was going to be the first woman president.
Yes.
And who
Isn't
is
that the
she?
best?
If part 3 was the explosion, part 4 is the aftershock. Because what happened when Hillary Clinton lost her cool on live TV didn't just stay in the studio. It spilled into the political bloodstream of America, forcing everyone, from diehard supporters to casual viewers, to rethink what accountability really looks like. The first ripple? Trust in the media. For years, mainstream outlets have been accused of protecting political elites, softening interviews, and steering conversations away from anything too dangerous. But this moment shattered that bubble. When Tyrus dropped the hard questions and Hillary cracked, viewers realized what many had suspected all along. When politicians are actually pressed, their carefully polished image can't hold. Suddenly, the controlled narrative didn't matter. Reality broke through. The second ripple? The question of power. Hillary Clinton isn't just another politician. She represents decades of political machinery, influence, and connections that span across Washington, Wall Street, and beyond. When someone of her stature gets cornered on live TV, it sends a message. The shield of untouchability doesn't exist anymore. The age where political royalty could glide past scrutiny is over, replaced by an era where anyone can be called out, anyone can be exposed, anyone can be humbled in front of millions. And here's where it gets really interesting. The people loved it. Social media exploded with clips, commentary, and reactions. Not just from Clinton's usual critics, but from average Americans who rarely feel like politics speaks to them. Why? Because the meltdown wasn't polished, wasn't filtered, and it wasn't controlled. It was raw, and people could finally see behind the curtain. But let's step back for a second. Why did this moment resonate so strongly? The answer is simple. Americans are exhausted. Exhausted from scandals swept under the rug. Exhausted from being told to move on. Exhausted from a political system that feels like it plays by one set of rules for the elite and another set for everyone else. When Hillary snapped, it wasn't just about her temper. It was about the symbol she represents. A system that doesn't like being questioned, doesn't like being challenged, and definitely doesn't like being exposed. And that's why Tyrus' role here is bigger than just one fiery exchange. He became a stand-in for millions of voices, the voice of frustration, of skepticism, of demanding answers. His confrontation turned into a moment of cultural clarity. When the powerful are finally challenged, they don't look strong, they look fragile. Now, here's the kicker. This isn't just about Hillary Clinton's career. This could shape how politicians move forward. Already, insiders are saying campaign teams are rewriting playbooks, prepping harder, and tightening their control over what their candidates say on live TV. But the irony? The more they try to control, the more obvious it becomes. The people watching can smell spin from a mile away. And once trust is gone, no media consultant in the world can bring it back. So what does this mean for America's future? It means the gap between polished politics and raw truth is shrinking fast. It means that leaders who rely on charm and spin may not survive the new era of brutal transparency. And it means that moments like this, unscripted, uncomfortable, and unforgettable, could become the new normal. For Hillary, this wasn't just a bad night. It was a turning point, one that reminded everyone that no one is above being questioned. For the media, it was a wake-up call that viewers won't accept softball interviews anymore. And for Americans at home, it was proof that when someone dares to break the script, the truth has a way of slipping out. This wasn't just politics. This was cultural. This was generational. And most of all, this was historic. Because when the dust settles, people won't remember the rehearsed lines or the polished smiles. They'll remember the moment Hillary Clinton's mask slipped on live TV, and the world saw her exactly as she was. And that, right there, is why this moment will echo for years.